Thank you all so much for joining us. We've worked really hard to try and see if we can do everything within an hour. LiD Quest officially opens for registration today, so that's super exciting. And we'd like to show you today LiD Quest in action. So I think at this point, I'm going to hand over to Brandon. And Brandon, if you can just tell everyone about where on earth did LiD Quest and learning in depth come from?
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Shelley, very much for that. A pleasure to have you all here. Some of you know me. My name is Brendan Hendrickson. I'm how do people even how am I known these days? I'm the founder of Science is Weird is maybe the most relevant thing for this. But in the last few years, no, it's a better way of saying this is to say that when I started Science is Weird back at the beginning of the pandemic in order to plumb as deeply as I could the possibilities of this new approach to education that I had become obsessed with over the last 6 or something years, which we now call Egan education. We're building education out. A team of us is building Egan education out, and we are making it a thing that people from around the world can access and can see these just tremendously exciting possibilities of actually helping people fall in love on the regular with things that they had previously thought to be incredibly dull and pointless and boring. We're developing this from the work of a now deceased educational philosopher named Kieran Egan. And Kieran Egan, near the very end of his career, came up with this one simple, easily mocked idea that he referred to as learning in depth. And the idea of it is that in first grade, every kid get matched almost like a matchmaking sort of, long-term marriage sort of thing with a random topic like cotton or dust or apples or elephants or whatever. And then his idea was they take that topic and they study it a little bit throughout the course of an entire year, and then a second year, and then all the way to a 12th year, and that the teachers kind of have this hands-off thing toward them where they sort of prompt them to understand this topic better and to crucially, to fall in love with it, to meld together the cognitive with the emotional until kids actually experience these things, these topics, as friends whom they love. This has been done kind of the flurry of excitement throughout the world. I got to experience one specific place that did this school that was, for a brief, beautiful moment in time, wholly given over to Egan education. It was in Oregon. It was in Corbett, Oregon, near the edge of the Columbia River. Little charter school there, and I got to go there and just like watch what they were doing in their classes. Now, there's a lot to be said about like what they were doing in their classes. It was so cool. My wife and I nearly moved our family to Corbett, Oregon, just to be part of this. But one of the major things they did was this idea of learning in depth. And I got to talk to the kids about like their topics. And it was interesting. In all fairness, I don't know what it was that I was expecting, but I would find kids, as I'd hoped, who were zealous, so excited about what their topic was, and they wanted to tell me everything about their topic. And this wasn't just like, let me rattle off a bunch of like facts to people, right? This was like actual organic knowledge where they connected their thing up in these high level ways, where they connected it to other things that they were learning about. And yes, also a bunch of like, gee whiz, this is really cool facts also. The amazing moment though came for me when I talked with, I remember one of them, and she didn't seem very excited about her topic. And I asked her about that. Chair. I can't remember what the topic was. Something as dull in my mind as chairs, although it wasn't chairs. Chairs wasn't one of the original topics. And she said, well, it's interesting. Sometimes I find that I'm really excited about my topic, and other times I'm not. And that used to worry me because, like maybe I'm just not in love with my topic anymore. But I found again and again that I just keep coming back to it. I keep getting more excited about it and, again and again. And I thought, my goodness, this fourth grade girl should be a marriage counselor. This is just like a very mature way of understanding the world. Learning in depth, when it was originally done, was done as this intended sort of 12-year process. There are problems with that, it turns out. Like, can you get a system to actually commit to doing this for all 12 years? What is it, 3, 4 years, 2, 3, 4 years ago, Alessandro, who's here as Gelmi, Alessandro Gelmi and I, Dr. Alessandro Gelmi and I now, set off to try to create a more truncated version of learning in depth. And we threw it together in one whirlwind of a summer. And what we created was this insanely dense thing that I think possibly caused students and parents to just burst into flames. It was just so much. It was too much. There was a lot of greatness in it, I need to say, but it was too much greatness in too small a package. In that, so we decided, okay, we need to go back to the drawing board. We need to like figure out like how do we expand this out? How do we make this somehow less intense, but like keep like the vibrancy of all of this whole thing going? But we had a problem. The school year was beginning in both Italy and the United States, and we didn't have the time to do this. We didn't have the focus to do this. But there had arisen two people in that cohort, in that smashed together sardines, burning sardines, flaming sardines cohort of people who had distinguished themselves by of their own free volition going on to the chat group sort of comment section or whatever it was that we were using at that time and jumping in to help other people out in their projects. These two natural leaders, Shelley Smith and Andy Wright. And so we thought, Alessandro and I thought, what wouldn't it be interesting if instead of us actually having to like do all the hard work here, we gave it to Shelley and Andy. And so we invited them into this little conspiracy of ours, and they did. And my goodness, it's not just that they have done like the hard work of it, though my gods, they do that so well. It's that they have actually taken on the gumption and the ideal leadership of this. Alessandro in particular has been working with them to not just like, kind of like generally improve, like not just like keep it going as strong as it was and not kind of like just generally improve it in a bunch of nuts and bolts, but actually to sort of re-narrativize it, to give it the sort of higher levels of meaning so people have these even deeper experiences that they can have than they had back in the days when they were setting themselves on fire. Not that they're setting themselves, they're just bursting into flames. It is imperative to say in this that we have rejiggered this to be something that you can do alongside other studies while still retaining the vibrancy and excitement of this. The next cohort, we do a number of cohorts on this per year. There are these. You'll hear about how wonderful these things are from people who are closer to this now than I am. So let me not put words in their mouths. I'll just say that I am terribly excited. I got to have an important role in starting this, and I continue to have a role in helping this continue along and and continue to grow into something that, I mean, in the end, we still don't know where this is all going to go. This is just some of the most exciting stuff that I see anybody working on right now. Our next cohort starts at the end of September, the 28th of September. And if you want to sign up, you can go to the website right now that they won't give you a link to, but it's learningindepth.quest. This is why we call it Learning in Depth Quest. Well, we chose that because it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
We could get the domain.
And then you can slash and then a hashtag and an enroll for that. So you can enroll even right now for this. All right. Let me introduce, without any further ado, Shelley, Andy, and Alessandro. I'm going to drop. I have a history curriculum that I need to put the finishing touches on right now. Thank you all for coming here for this. Shelley, take it away.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Brandon. Thank you so much for opening things up here. So yes, everyone, Learning in Depth Quest. If you have questions as we're going along, please feel free to type them in the chat. Andy and Alessandro and myself will have a look at the chat and make sure that we're answering those questions as we go along. And then we will also answer questions at the end. We are going to be giving you, to start off, an idea of what learning in depth is about from a high level. And then we're going to go and dive in and prove it to you. We're going to show you how you can actually find wonder and interest in a random topic live by choosing a random topic right here, right now. So that's coming at the end. But just a few things that you might want to know right now that are good to know. Who is LiD Quest for? It's designed for what we say tweens and teens. So from about 10 upwards into high school, up to sort of 18 even, and their families. So parents can enroll as a learner themselves together with their child. However, if you are just supporting your learner, you don't have to sign up as a learner. But if you want your own topic and you want to participate as a learner, you could, as the parent, also participate. And it's designed to work alongside your school curriculum or your homeschool curriculum. So either would work because when it's class, it is all asynchronous and all online. So you can work when it suits you and your family, and then you'll connect with the mentors. That's me and Andy, and we've got other mentors lined up as well, and those fellow LiD Questers on this online platform. Then we do offer these optional weekly meetups on a video call, but they're the icing on the cake. So that's the kids, we do find that the students love those meetups, and we will give you 3 different options to try and fit in with different schedules. How much time does it take? You need to allow for at least 4 to 5 hours per week. But as I say, it's very flexible. But if you want to attend the meetups and that kind of thing, 4 to 5 hours a week is what you're going to need. It starts on September 28th through to December 18th. But if you are not available during that time, if you've already got stuff booked up, do stick around because, as Brandon says, we offer these cohorts on a rolling basis, and we are looking at offering LiD Quest in different formats. So, yeah, please stick around, and maybe it is something that, with the flexibility, you can find works for you. So, first of all, I think I'm going to throw to Alessandro and say, Alessandro, we are doing something bonkers. We are actually saying we're going to give students a random topic, not a topic they're interested in or that's that they love already. We're going to roll this, we'll show you later. We're going to roll this topic compass and get a random topic. What's the thinking there?
Well, there are, I mean, plenty of reasons for this weird thing of picking a random topic. I mean, the most natural, intuitive question would be, why? I mean, why picking a random topic? Why don't we choose what you already love? Well, because there is an educational risk and an educational bet also, and an educational, I would say, dream and idea we are trying to follow here, which is, showing and experiencing, actually, having the experience of the fact that in the whole universe, everything is wonderful, meaningful. And the only difference from something trivial to something exceptional is how you approach it, is how you connect with it, intellectually, emotionally, with your imagination. And so that's the kind of challenge that it is an educational goal in itself that we want to work on. Even the most trivial, the most, even weird, strange, repulsive, I would say, topic instead is a hidden treasure of stories, of heroes, of wonders, and
Surprises,
of
like
enormous
unexpected.
ideas,
Mm,
fights, anything.
yeah.
So that's the idea. And even if you have something you already love, even if you randomly pick something you already love, well, you could discover that even if you think you know very much about it, indeed, you have plenty of unimaginable, unpredictable reasons to fall even deeper in love with that.
Yeah.
So that's the reason, I would say. Yeah.
Amazing. So we do offer a little bit of hedging against the randomness. So you can pick from these categories of animals, culture, nature, plants, and technology if you want to limit your exploration just a little bit. Exploration, by the way, is my topic. On the website at learningindepth.quest, you can see the full list of topics that we'll draw from. If this is a sticking point for your child, if you have special requirements, come and chat to us if you really feel uncomfortable about the completely random topic. But often the joy is in finding so many cool things about a topic that you thought was just ordinary. Okay, so that is our random topic. Now, what we're going to do is we want to just sketch what could be possible for your child in Learning in Depth Quest. And so we're going to talk first about the end destination of where we're leading everyone, beginning with the end in mind, as it were. And we're going to show you a few examples of what we call the masterpiece. But we so often put that in inverted commas because the masterpiece that the students create is just their final word on their LiD quest, the highlights of what they've studied. So with that in mind, here is Zeke's book that he created on his topic of castles. I've got the thumbnails of the book there that he created in PowerPoint, but have a look at the castle that he was inspired by, was a castle in Syria. And then he created this ebook with guidelines on how to build castle forts in your home. Andy, you have something to say about this.
Yeah, so we tried to build this in my house, and I can say it was very successful. I did it with my kids, and they didn't follow the exact contours of the Crac de Chevalier, but they did create this amazing castle, which was incredibly cool that one of our students was able to inspire my kids halfway around the world. And I can say that it was a lot of fun. And they learned a lot about castles as they were building it. And it's just amazing that that inspiration was there. And I can say that it was difficult to get out of the castle for me once I was inside there, but still a great experience. So
Well done,
yeah,
well
and
done
this
for
is just
getting in.
one. Yeah. Well, we had a drawbridge. Anyway, it's really cool. And this is just one form that the masterpieces could take. I mean, there's
Mm.
all kinds of stuff that people did.
One of our
Like
students created a startup idea. So his topic was spices, and he got into like how spices can be burny and like actually like unpleasant, and created the idea of prank spice. And this was actually on one of our side quests that we give them sort of three-quarters of the way through the program. And he just loved this idea. It's very Fred and George Weasley inspired. And he ended up, for his masterpiece, creating a website for this. Well, I was going to say fake startup, but many of the LiD questers were very interested to get some of his prank spice cookies with which have peppercorns in them, loaded with capsaicin and you can see he's done it based on the Scoville units of the burn in the cookie. But then he's also got, he balances it out, right? So he's got Madagascan vanilla ice cream. So you're using another spice, vanilla, for a happier version of a product there. So you can see that lots of beyond the textbook kind of activities that's end up happening as the masterpiece. Andy, can you talk us through this, maybe a little bit more classic kind of version of a masterpiece?
Sure, absolutely. So we had a student whose topic was oceans, and she happens to live in Trinidad, and she was inspired by these turtles that lay eggs in Trinidad, and so she created a PowerPoint about their annual migration to lay eggs from like the deep waters in the Arctic in Canada all the way down to Trinidad and like sort of catalog the journey. So for her, it was important that she like integrated this aspect of her home into her masterpiece. And it came out beautifully. And I think it was very inspiring, at least to me, and I think to a lot of the other students. So yeah,
Yeah.
you might see these sort of presentation style masterpieces as well. And some of them are fantastic.
Yeah, but I think what was great is that she made the topic her own. She brought it into her world, her experience, and so that's the kind of things that we're aiming for with the masterpieces. Talking of that, no, this is not a science comic. This is what one of our LiD questers actually drew, illustrated, and created. She started this, I will tell you that she started this early in LiD Quest because she is a very talented illustrator. As you can see, her topic was on reptiles and snakes, and she created this absolutely beautiful work of art about this western rat snake and her friends. So just to show you the range of different things that the students create at the end, but other masterpieces have included all sorts of things. Some students, like, maybe you're thinking, oh my goodness, that is sort of publishable level content there. But some students go through LiD Quest, and as we'll show you, the journey is more important than this destination. But they'll go and have a chat with a parent about the highlights of what they've learned and record that or do a video of it. We've had cool sibling presentations, also using Canva and popping up. Each sibling had a chance to speak to a slide. Board games some have created. Yeah, what else, Andy?
I mean, we've seen comedy, like films, and and then also like stand-up routines. There have been joke books. There have been quite a lot of stories. People would write and illustrate their own stories, and there's a huge. I do want to emphasize there's a huge range of abilities in terms of drawing. But what we want to focus on here is that the students are inspired and take things in the direction that they want. Because the whole idea is that students are falling in love with these topics, and then when they come out, they have something to say, but it also reflects who they are. And that's what the masterpieces are all about. We have had some Venn diagrams that were truly difficult to solve.
And that was
Alessandro,
Alessandro's fault.
Yeah, yeah. I struggled. I mean, I wasn't able actually to solve them. So it's Brandon didn't see them. I've not seen them yet, but I bet that he would miserably fail to. But that's interesting because one other aspect of these masterpieces is that they are filled with the deep knowledge that along the journey the kids gather and develop. So you have both these expressive side of those of the masterpiece, but there is also the opportunity to integrate and put together everything they have learned, and through all this learning and this knowledge their imagination is fueled and they can create amazing stuff. And the Venn diagram to me is a symbol of that because it was difficult. It was an
Yeah.
impossible game. So I challenged.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
had to figure out what the categories were based on photographs of different apes and monkeys and other animals.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the student was so strict about guessing. We had to guess it right. So it was absolutely wonderful. So yeah, we do guide our students in a kind of science is weird inspired LiD talk formula, but we find that so they can always fall back to that, but we do find they've already got a plan. They like that, as you say, Alessandro, that imagination has been ignited and that flows out of them. And that's why the journey is what is central to LiD Quest. So I just wanted to paint that picture of the destination. But LiD Quest is so much more than just that masterpiece. That's why I don't like calling it project-based learning as such, because there's so much more in between start and end. LiD Quest is a journey. It's a story. The student is stepping into the hero's role. Brandon alluded to this, but Alessandro, just tell us just briefly about the narrative arc of LiD.
It's quite simple actually. So the idea is that we're not doing a LiD Quest as only a series of activities, right? Maybe even the coolest activities of the universe. But it's not just a series, a list in chronological order. So today we do that, tomorrow we will do the other thing. No, it is an adventure. So there is a sequence of things that we will do, of course, but they are framed within a narrative, a journey we embark in together. And that, this journey has its own rhythm. its own emotional tension. And that's what makes stories or narratives powerful. Because if you go into a story, you are, compelled emotionally to follow the rhythm of the story, and what you are supposed to feel during this journey. And what we want is for the kids to feel and know why we're doing something in a certain moment. So not only because, it's a list of things, but because we are in a journey. So there is a meaning, there is continuity. That's what we mean by a journey or a bigger narrative. And so we have different moments, right? Different
Yes. So
phases of this.
the first moment or the first phase is wonder. I call it wonder. You call it something else, but I like calling it wonder.
Yeah, I mean, wonder is easily misunderstandable. If you take the word, may sound like unicorns and I don't know, glitter or the Disney thing or the wow effect, right? Well, I mean, it has to do also with the sense of surprise, but it's much more than that. So, what we want to do in this beginning, in this first moment of the journey, is to find facts, for pieces of information, you know, content aspects about the topic that feel important because they are beautiful, because they are deeply human, because they are surprising, because they are incredible, mysterious, even absurd. And so the important here is not yet to go in depth in analyzing, but it's to find a variety of shiny, important facts that are worth learning, that, pull us. So that's what we want to trigger here, to ignite, because that's the beginning of every kind of deep learning and research,
Yeah.
finding a good reason, a strong reason to go into the topic.
So I'll show you how we do this. So when you enroll in LidQuest, we've got our headquarters where your learners will be able to find everything. And then we've got our LidQuest classroom. So all of these pokes that we've been talking about, we call them pokes. It's a prompt. And we offer the students week by week. You can see this is week 1 in our classroom. And each day in the beginning, because we're aiming for this breadth, we give our learners a prompt. So like simple definitions, world records, heroes, we're going to do later, and so on. And they are given a guide. So when they click on this PDF guide, they get a guide like this. We're working on some printables that you could have if you don't want to have too much screen time. You could print these out and your students could complete the sort of gaps there. But then what we do is on Padlet, this is our online tool, is the learners gather all their findings. So here's our Spice learner again, and he's found a bunch of world records, and you can see lots of world records. And by the end of 3 weeks, this wonder board is full of cool stuff. So they might not analyze everything, they might just be gathering facts and cool ideas about the topic. Here you can see like Andy is and this is an example of just what we do as mentors. We're just helping the learners to think about their thinking. Yeah, so Andy, talk about like what we do with the mentors in the wonder phase.
Sure. So, I mean, as Alessandro said, what we want to do at the beginning of the project is just ignite their interest. We want to make them curious about their topic. And we also, there's two parts to this. We also want to arm them with facts that they can then use to launch their research. And as mentors, what we want to do, because I assume everyone here is a parent, or most of you anyway, you may know that your kids will often they'll hear something and kind of be a bit meh, I don't know what to do with this fact when they learn something new. So our job as mentors is to prompt them to think about it in a new light, or to go deeper, or to find that strange and perhaps you know the residue of curiosity in that fact, and then direct them at that. And we do that through comments. We might be, sometimes it takes encouragement. Sometimes it's like it's just pointing out weird contradictions in what they found. Sometimes it's pushing them to go a little bit further. It depends. But then that interaction, I think, is really useful. And the other thing is, it's really important that students feel like their work is seen. I mean, the difference between sitting in a room by yourself and doing work or being in a place where your work is part of a community, and we'll talk about this in a moment, is really, I think is really important. That's where the mentor role comes in. So here's an example where one student he found this spice hero. He was a hero of like figuring out how to grow spices in new environments. And I saw his name means pepper. So, I mean, his name is, Peter Pepper, which is just such an ironic thing. And I think that is the kind of thing that will stick in someone's memory. And at the early phases, we were just trying to come up with this constellation of facts. At one point, the student came up with information about vanilla. And this is things that like weird facts he found in ChatGPT. But the facts were actually so bizarre and strange that you could really, I thought, I bet you could dive deep into this. And I know that vanilla is a very expensive spice with a very long history. So that could be an entire exploration on itself. And I think, like in the end, he went with, prank spices, but he did go into colonial history of various spices around the world. So there's a lot of different directions that you can go. He also had a book that he was looking into and, finding all these bizarre cultural rituals around the world. So what we want is to emphasize the variety that any kind of topic can go into, and then also the possibilities, especially in the early part of LiD. Now, here, Shelley has shown, here are an example of some of those possibilities. And what we've been showing you up till now has been one individual student's board, which is private to the student and to the mentors. But at the end of each week, they are going to upload their most amazing finds to what we call the field finds board. And this is public to all the students in the cohort. And we're showing you all the cool things that they found, but this is actually maybe not even a third of the entire length of what we've got because there are so many comments. And we've redacted them because they have all the students' names, but there are loads and loads of cool things that they found, and there's a lot of interaction. And students will comment on another student's find and then say, oh yeah, but I found something that was kind of related to this when I was studying insects, and then that will be a springboard for a whole conversation. And so I do want to emphasize that this is about taking this cool stuff and then sharing it with other people in this educational community.
And so then once you've got that breadth, you've got so much that could interest you. We help you to focus in on an area that you just love so much. And so this is what we call complication or investigation. This is where we get into more deeper research, richer resources and that kind of thing. Alessandro, can you give us a one-liner about the complication phase, the second set of 3 weeks?
Yeah, that's let's say the second moment of the journey. So imagine you found a huge variety of interesting, shiny facts about your topic. This is an accomplishment. It's interesting, but it's not yet what Brandon, said before as organic, high-level knowledge, right? We have a lot of cool facts. Now it's the moment to go actually in depth, to go deeper. And that's where we try to support what we can consider actual research, analysis of interesting sources. So the point here is to select, so from the huge variety of cool facts, to select what's really calling us, not us, but the kids, right? What's really asking, to be explored more, and then to focus on what we want to know more and how we can do that. So things get a bit more complicated. That's why the name is complication. But here, it's the moment where we build hard, serious knowledge,
Mm.
both knowledge and also research skills. So
Yes. Yes.
that's the thing.
And this actually links to a question that Angie's asked about addressing the validity of what students find. Andy has answered that question of like that's part of our job as mentors. It's we do a lot, we learn a lot because we go and actually sometimes fact check and check in on. And I think that's what the Peter Pov where you found that Andy because I think you were like no way like this must have been something that the internet made up, and you were like what it's actually true to verifying it. So there's that to it. There's also the fact that in this complication phase is like, oh, well, you found that cool hero, but was he actually a hero? Let's go and look at additional sources. Let's go and dive into his biography. Let's go and look at it from an alternative angle. So in the first 3 weeks, we do kind of go broad and wide, and we're maybe not verifying everything, although as Andy says, that's part of our job. But then in the complication phase, that's when that research gets a little bit more verifiable. We use AI not as a source at that point, but we really encourage our learners to go to more expert, more well-researched, peer sort of reviewed sources that are richer, and use AI as a tool maybe to organize information and that kind of thing. So yeah, in this phase, they can either follow one of the lines of wonder that they've loved, or they find a really great book or a really great documentary and use that to guide their research. Okay, I'm going to have to go quickly if we're going to do our random search. But we've got transformation now is the next phase of the journey. And honestly, this is where my own kids have done 2 LiD quests and they're up for a 3rd one now. And this is the part they love the most because I think this is when we can do something cool. Like just they've now armed themselves with all these facts and now they make those facts their own. And so we give them at this point, it's like less about this like full on a daily thing. They get a weekly project that they work on and they get a choice of 3. So they can choose what feels like in their comfort zone, or maybe pushing them out of their comfort zone they might choose. So like in the 7th week, for example, they can choose between a parody song, a comedy skit, or to invent a religion or build a world around their topic. So we give them those and they get those guides. And this is where they have fun and they'll post their finds on the showcase for the end of the week. And this is where we see so many cool ideas and angles and often a lot of inspiration for the masterpiece, which you've seen now at the beginning. And that is the final part of the journey, is to integrate your knowledge into yourself, that your knowledge changes you. So you prepare that masterpiece, but I hope you can see now that like that masterpiece is just like it's like the homecoming, but the hero returns forever changed by their topic. Alessandro, am I sketching the romance of that that moment?
Yeah, that's the idea. So we put everything together in the masterpiece. It is, the consequence of the transformation, the previous moment where you actually change the topic because you bring something new into it, your own perspective. And at the same time, you realize that you are changed by the topic because now you know things you didn't, now you see things you didn't see, and you can find a way to express this. So that's the point of the masterpiece. So it's the natural consequence of this journey with the topic. So now we have something to say, right? Now we have something rich, cool, detailed to say, and you want to share that. And you can choose how to share that. That's
Yes.
the core of this.
Absolutely. So that is the beautiful culmination of LiD Quest. So that's the whirlwind, like high level overview of what we're doing. We provide so much guidance to your learners, but also just to say that like if you don't get especially all of those pokes in the beginning done, that's okay. If you skip 1 or 2, that's totally fine. And if you're maybe away for a vacation or something like that, you can be flexible about your LiD quest and adapt it. If this is sounding amazing and you're like, okay, this will be a great fit for my child or for my family, this is the link to enroll. What will happen when you enroll is you'll see this page here. So it's $360 for the first learner, and then we discount additional siblings, or if the parent wants to join as a full learner in their own right, that's then an extra 260. So you get $100 discount. Speaking in South African currency here. So you'll just then fill in your enrollment form, say who's enrolling, and if they want to select specific categories of topics. And then you'll make payments on our PayHip site. So you must just select, is it 1 learner, 2 learners, 3 learners, or maybe even 4 learners in a family that's enrolling. And then you will be able to do payments, and then you will get the LiD Quest welcome guide. There's a bit of a spread there. That's got they've got a bunch of bonus materials for you, because I know with LiD Quest only starting on the 28th of September, we've got plenty to keep you busy if that is a problem. There's plenty of bonus materials. Alessandro is going to be doing a live workshop that'll be recorded on dust. That is Alessandro's LiD topic, and I reckon if somebody can make dust interesting, which I promise you Alessandro can, well then, that's the way LiD rolls. So that's what we're aiming for with your kids. So you can come see a LiD Quest sort of masterpiece, give dust the LiD treatment. Okay, so please feel free to pop any questions in the chat. I see there are some questions coming up. But I think now's the time for us to prove it. So we've got 15 minutes. We're going to really try and see if we can do this. We are going to spin our topic compass and undergo a 15-minute wonder challenge. So I'm going to stop my screen share here and bring us back to the topic compass. And we are going to see if the three of us can walk the LiD talk and see if we can make a random topic interesting. So if you're skeptical about the random topic side of things, this is the moment. Alessandro, Andy, are you guys ready?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, great. And any questions that we need to answer, Andy?
Someone has asked about if we could talk a bit more about how we use AI, and I think we can come to that. But maybe we'll do this little demo, and then we can talk about that as we wrap up at the end. If you can wait for us.
And I'll be using AI. I'll show you how I'm going to use AI as an example here. Emily's also asking, they'll be out of town for the first week. Should wait for a future cohort. No, join in. It's totally fine. You'll be able to pick up from there. We'd love to have you guys join us. You'll be able to catch up, but we can also probably give you a plan that you don't have to catch up everything. Maybe you choose the pokes that look interesting to your family. Okay. All right. Great. Let's do this. Okay. Let's select all of the categories. So this is on our website if you want to go and have a roll of this topic compass. All right, let's do this. We're going to spin the topic compass and see what it brings us. All right. Mountains. Yes.
Oh, wow.
I actually love this, which is, doesn't matter that I love it, but I'm going to now find out anything more amazing about it. So we're going to use the poke of heroes. So this is our heroes poke. So the students would get something similar to this, where they get their mission. They are going to find heroes hiding in your topic's Hall of Fame. And what did they say, do, or make, or discover that makes them a hero? We give them some guidelines here. And so we're going to focus on pioneers and rebels. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open my friend ChatGPT, and Andy and Alessandro is going to hit Wikipedia, and Andy is going to hit the old-fashioned now Google search. And I'm after 5 minutes, and I don't have my phone, so I am going to I have a block timer, which is very cool. It's even better than a phone. There we go. So yes, there we go. 5 minutes are starting. I'm going to walk you through how I would do this, and in that time, Andy and Alessandro are going to do their homework and see what they can find. We're going to focus on pioneers and rebels. They often have the best stories to them. So I'm going to search, and we give the learners some search tips of also this helps to get a better result from the AI. Okay, so I am going to see if we can get a topic like a hero who was ignored. Let's try that of the study of mountains, or who proved everyone wrong, or could I go like the father or mother of the study of mountains. Okay, let's have a go here. I'm going to ask ChatGPT. So I'm going to say, let's see if ChatGPT will get. I have got a new LiD topic. The topic is mountains. I am looking for heroes in the topic of mountains who have been the rebels of the study of mountains. Who are some, and I want you to give me 5 heroes with just a short sentence for each, who were people who either were ignored or they came up with a finding that was controversial in the scientific community. Please give me a list of those 5 heroes with very interesting backstories. Okay. So you see what I've done there is I've used the text to speech, and I'm searching for the story. This is also something very LiD orientated. So let's see what ChatGPT can give us here. Oh, it's saying lit, but anyway, it usually knows that I'm talking about LiD because I have trained ChatGPT to find things around LiD, and often it will go, oh yeah, Shelley, this is a wonderful topic for about exploration for your family. So that you see it knows me. It's got LiD, it's even got the small I. So become genuine LiD heroes, not just famous names with a mountain connection. So that is really good, because that's also the thing, we don't just want the usual heroes like the famous people just because they are famous. We want to find the shiny, the people who can also just, I think, act as mentors and role models to our kids as well. That really does like bring to life a topic. Okay, so I probably should have taken it off of high model. So if just to speak about AI while this is crunching, if you don't want your kids to use AI, you can absolutely go and do LiD. You can go and grab like a Guinness World Records. You can go and grab a bunch of DK encyclopedia books, some rich resources as well from your library. You can also use Wikipedia and the more general Google search. There are various ways if you don't want your kids using AI, but we are going to teach them good AI practice. Okay, so let's see who we've got here. Mountains is a fantastic LiD topic for rebel scientists because the history of geology is full of ideas that sounded absurd until the rocks proved otherwise. So we've got James Hutton, the man who invented deep time. Sounds pretty cool. He argued that mountains were repeatedly raised, eroded, buried, and raised again over almost unimaginable spans of time, directly opposing the accepted idea that Earth's great landforms had been created in a single event. Okay, he sounds pretty cool. Oh, I see Marie Tharp is coming up as well. Marie Tharp is one of my exploration heroes. That is so cool that she's come up here. This is also where the cross-pollination of LiD topics is very, very cool. I've got picture book biographies on Marie Tharp and all sorts. So yes, she was, as a woman, was not allowed on the exploration ships, but she then discovered the mid-Atlantic ridge in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, and it was dismissed as girl talk. She's a really great rebel. Let's see Florence. I'm just going to go with the odd numbers because there is my timer that has gone off. Florence Bascom, the geologist hidden behind a classroom screen, secretly admitted to Johns Hopkins and forced to sit behind screens so she would not distract male students. Bascom nevertheless proved that supposedly sedimentary rocks in the Appalachian Mountains were actually ancient metamorphosized lava flows. That sounds pretty cool. I mean, that does sound incredibly cool. So yeah, there we go. Yeah, I love the idea of Marie Tharp, and this is where also maybe knowledge that your kids would have got from other subjects that they're doing can interact with what they're studying in LiD. So I am going to go with Marie Tharp with my colleagues here. All right, Andy, Alessandro. I'm going with Marie Tharp, who discovered the Mid-Atlantic Ridge. I think she is a rock star. Talk us through
I
your
have I have an interesting fellow. Okay, this is the guy, Horace Benedict de Saussure. So I was interested in finding, pioneers of studying mountains. So seeing mountains as an object of scientific interest. And well, this guy was interesting because he was a botanist, so he studied plants most of all. But he got, an obsession, which is typical of every intellectual hero, a strong obsession. So he wanted to get to the top of the highest mountain in Europe. Mont Blanc, Monte Bianco would be White Mountain, basically, which is on the border between Italy and France. The only problem is that he was always ill. So he didn't have a good health. He was weak. He had problems in breathing. That's not what you want to have if you want to reach the top of the highest mountain. It was never reached before. So he organized a contest. He used all the money, the resources he had. He was, of course, an aristocrat, as typically intellectuals were at the time. Was at the middle part of the 18th century, so the second half, let's say. And through the contest, actually, the winner was capable of reaching the top of the Mont Blanc. And it was the first time that that was done. So Horace Benedict managed to receive all the data that he wanted to have. And just before dying, he died very young at 43, he managed to put all of these data into a kind of masterpiece of the time.
Wow.
And then, he gave everything and basically died after, short after publishing this book that was entitled Voyage dans les Alpes. So voyages, journey on the Alps. And I found this story very romantic. So of course now I would like to know many things more. I would like to verify a lot of stuff. So there is also this monument that was dedicated to him. Yeah, so I'd like to know much more about the biography and the specific discoveries of this hero. And what I did, usually what you can find on Wikipedia, if you're looking for heroes, really the pioneers of a discipline or, a topic from the scientific perspective, is something you can easily find and can be very surprising. So I didn't know the guy before. And now I'd like to know more about him personally. Sounds very romantic to me.
I love both of those images, like he's looking up in that one, and in the monuments as well. They're like looking up, and then I see like Chamonix. I know from my husband's rock climbing, like that's a big rock climbing area. So I'm also thinking, oh, there could be heroes of like mountain climbers and people who have scaled mountains. Also, what I love about our two heroes is that they both Marie Tharp and this Horace, they're all both had to collect data from other people and then formed their masterpiece. Marie created a beautiful map of the mid-Atlantic ridge from the data that was given back to her from those exploration ships. So they didn't let their let's say disability or being shut out get in their way. So in that way, they're displaying those kinds of heroic qualities of tenacity and courage and
To be dreamers.
perseverance. Mm,
Yeah.
mm,
Also. Wow.
yes. Cool.
Okay.
Andy, what did you discover? Oh, you're on mute.
Yeah,
There we
sorry, I was looking at some videos and I didn't want to, blare into the meeting. Um, yeah, so I basically I was a little nervous because you may wonder whether we're truly being random here, but we really are. And I was kind of worried about what this would look like, but I did find some cool stuff, and I'm gonna share my screen here. Let's see. Yeah, here we go. Um, so I looked up, sort of greatest mountaineers in history. My dad will be happy because he went to West Virginia University, so he is a mountaineer. And I found all kinds of interesting stuff. And I started by looking at famous heroes or mountain conquerors, and some of these names are very familiar. I saw Edmund Hillary and Tenzing
go.
Norgay. These are very famous guys to reach the top of Mount Everest. But I wanted to find something a little more interesting, not just maybe the greats. So I started looking up controversies. And this is something that you may find as you're doing the pokes, or as your kids are doing the pokes. We've got these little one-line inspirations about how to maybe pull a little more or wring a little bit more interest out of the topics. And one of them is looking for controversies. And so I did. And I found that some of these very famous people, like Reinhold Messner's name came up as like one of the greatest. He's an Italian, so Alessandro will be very happy about that. He,
It's from the
yeah.
town I am now, basically.
Oh,
It's
cool.
from Bolzano. Yeah.
Yeah, so small world. Um, One of the controversies that came up again and again is this idea of like, what does it mean to climb a mountain? And so Reinhold Messner was famous for pioneering these like smaller uh, solo type climbs with not having a huge expedition up to the top. And they started to call this ethical mountain climbing. And then I found this rivalry between two guys by the name of Royal Robbins and Warren Harding. Harding is not the president, but uh, Robbins and Harding kind of hated each other because Robbins believed that, and this is Robbins here, that you should climb in a very minimalist sense because and this is like the foundation of ethical mountain climbing because you want to have minimal environmental impact at these, like there are not many people up here, and if you bring a huge expedition, there's human waste and refuse and all kinds of things that end up cluttering these beautiful places. And then there was another guy called Warren Harding who thought that basically that Robbins was just pompous. And he's just ridiculous. And then Harding was this fast car, heavy drinking guy, and he would go and he used tons of rope and all these tools to, make the climbs easier. And he had a lot of assistance. And so they had this race to go to the top of, I believe it is, what is the name of that famous Yosemite
El
cliff?
Capitan.
Yeah, yes, El Capitan. And in the end, spoilers, Royal Robbins, the ethical mountain climber, won, and he defeated Harding, and then he became this famous name in mountain climbing, which is a really cool story. And what I would say is that to come back to the idea of the poke, um, we this is really fascinating. It took me about 10 minutes to find, and it probably take me about 10 minutes to explain to you. Um, but what we're looking for is just some names at the beginning, with the seeds of this interest. And then what you can do as you go on is if you find this interesting, this rivalry may become the core of what you do when you go to the exploration phase. And you can take this further if that is the thing that is fascinating to you. And if it's not, you've got one interesting fact in your quiver. And what we do is we want to come up with a whole bunch of arrows of interest and wonder for that quiver, and then we see where those lead as we go further down the journey. So hopefully that gives you a kind of example of what this might look like. Obviously, it's going to be a bit different for everyone, but you can see how you can use different resources and these guiding questions that we've got, and then obviously with the mentor feedback to kind of hone in on what is fascinating and meaningful about these topics.
Amazing, amazing. Well, well done. As you could see, that was a real quick wonder challenge. But yes, I mean, if you give us even like 5 more minutes each, you could just go deeper and deeper. So this is where it's just wonderful to get the broadness in the beginning. And I hope that we've shown you like anything can be interesting. There's just and there's so many angles you could go down because I was like I went like Alessandro did of like more the scientific study of mountains, but then you could just take a minute and go, oh yes, but what about people who climb mountains? And then go the direction that Andy has found. And I was prompting of this like just interesting backstories, but the idea of rivalries is really, really cool as well. So those are some of the ways. So that's just for one day that we that the learners will go and find these heroes. But if they love the idea, they can continuously find more heroes and even cooler heroes and then go deeper into it. And then, you know, maybe their masterpiece is a biography or some kind of profile of that hero. So that's just one direction that we've taken you down today. I hope you can see that LidQuest could be so many things, and this is why we have trouble fitting it into an hour because it could be so many cool things. But the idea is that we show our kids that anything in the world can be interesting. So if you could make mountains or coral or exploration or dust interesting, then no matter what you're faced with in life, no matter what happens with AI, you will be able to find interest within that topic and really, we say like live the life of the mind, be curious, love learning. If we send our kids out into the world with that skill, that is giving them an edge that like is just amazing. And yeah, LiD gamifies that. It invites your children and your learners into this heroic story. So I think we will just address the question of AI briefly now. I think it might be something that we create a video on and discuss a little bit further so we can give it proper treatment. But I think just to say that we kind of encourage or allow for the use of AI in those first 3 weeks to get that breadth. AI is a great tool for that kind of thing. And then, but then building in those second 3 weeks of in-depth research, that's when we validate it. And also just the way we use AI is not just give me a list of heroes, because you're going to get a boring list of heroes. That's why we give them those prompts of like, find the rebels, find the rivalries, find the person who had to overcome a disability. So by using those more direct, specific prompts, we can get richer information out of the AI. And then we really do privilege books and really good documentaries, particularly in the sort of later half of the process, to show like you can get so much rich information from that.
If I could add to that, Shelley, I think that one of the core things is the way that we encourage AIs dependent upon the narrative stage. So for gathering information, it can be very useful, but it goes to the idea of verification. As we get further along, we increasingly look for additional sources to add to the AI to double check things. We increasingly emphasize that we want to see the students' own ideas as we go forward. And so in the back half of LiD, we we basically say we don't want to have AI outputs for what you're doing. We want to know what you think, because the idea is to turn our students into experts in their own right. Maybe middle school level experts. We're not asking them to write dissertations yet, but we do ask them to use AI essentially as an information gathering tool, and then as a tool because it's particularly good at asking questions that you can't type into a website and get an answer for. So there are specific ways that you can use it that will be beneficial. Now, of course, that requires then verification later on. And we do try to push back on, especially on things that seem strange or seem that as though they're directly copied from the AI. We then want to ask students, like, where did you get this? What do you think about this? In order to push them beyond the rote, returns from the AI. So there's defense in depth, I think is the way that I would describe it, against, outsourcing all of your thoughts. We have, there's a whole series of things that we do. If that gives you at least a basic place to start. Hopefully that's helpful.
Yeah. Great. Well, I think I'm going to wrap things up so that we can stay close to the hour as possible. Thank you so much, Andy and Alessandro, and thanks to Brandon as well. Thank you all for attending this. I know time is precious. We really just are so happy that everyone has attended, and that we could share our joy and our love of learning in depth with you. If this does sound really great to you, the enrollment link is, so it's learningindepth.quest/enroll. You can enroll there. We do have to limit numbers because, as you've seen, this is very mentor intensive. You get a lot of one-on-one kind of feedback and back and forth. So we do limit the numbers so that we can give that one-on-one attention to your student. So it is best to get in if you want to secure your spot, and you will get all that bonus material before we kick off on the 28th of September. But also we will have an opening ceremony that we release before, where we do the topic draw. Those will be recorded, and that sort of thing. So there's plenty that will be on the brew, and we will be staying in touch as we start LiDQuest. But if you're keen, we'd love to have you join the fold and add your name to the LiDQuest Fellowship, because that's eventually what your child will become a part of. You're becoming a part of something bigger here, and that is the LiDQuest Fellowship. So thank you again for joining us today. We will see you on the email list. Stick around there for more things LiDQuest, and we really hope to see you and your families in LiDQuest Fall 2026. Cheers, everyone. Goodbye.